Hello, everyone. My name is JP Warren, and I'm excited to be here today at the NOV Technology Center in Navasota.
Springett Technology Center.
Is that it?
It's called Springett Technology Center.
Springett Technology Center in Navasota, and I'm very excited to be here because I think this is an extremely important topic we're here to discuss. And what we're going to do, we're going to be releasing about 4 to 5 videos to go over a topic that's not just surfacing in our communities right now, but actually hits very close to home. And from that, so again, my name is JP Warren, and we're going to have a conversation today that hopefully sheds some light and lets people feel a little bit more comfortable with this topic that is very difficult to discuss, actually. So I'm relatively new at this, so that's kind of why I think this is the perfect time to sit here and to ask y'all questions, so it could bring people that maybe are on the fringe or maybe they don't know about the issues and the circumstances right now. So if we want to go around and introduce ourselves, Jess, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. I'm Jess Brassington, and I am on the leadership team for redM. And I got involved when I met David Reid on LinkedIn. I think it might have been on another podcast that I saw on there. And so I'm happy to help and make an impact. Thank you.
And I'm David Reid, founder of redM and also on the leadership team. And work for a company called NOV, who has graciously donated the studio and the crew here so that we can get this done. So,
well, it's a wonderful studio, so thanks for having us. And thanks for being here. Let's get this kicked off. So my experience and my knowledge with human trafficking, obviously, you see movies about it, you hear stories about it, and you're always thinking, oh, well, that's so sad. It's third world country people that are trying to just make a better life in the States, and they get wrapped up in the wrong environment. But from a conversation that I had with you, David, on a podcast that I previously had, you actually shed some light into it, that it actually is not just a third world problem that we need to deal with. This is a community, a neighborhood issue that actually has consequences in our own homes. And that came true with the Redeemed Gala that was just had last week. So let's just start it off here. Give us a 30,000 foot view of actually what's going on with human trafficking and where is it? What are we facing right now?
Well, there's a lot of ways of looking at it. It's a complex subject, and there is a lot going on. So what you need to know is what's local and what's relevant. What's local is there is trafficking going on. There's human trafficking going on around us, and usually that's in the labor market for a large part. And then there's also sex trafficking, which is going on. And so that's often international women. And so it does relate to places that are less fortunate than here. And that kind of feeds that market. So you see that turn up in the human trafficking world. You'll see it in low cost buffets. You'll see things where things aren't quite right. So if you're in a buffet and you see cameras, for example, it's a buffet. What are they filming, right? So you start to be aware of people acting like uncomfortable in a situation. If there's someone scary at the door, like looks more like a guard than a welcoming person. So that's something to look for in just general human trafficking for signs. And there's if you look up A21, they usually give good ways to find what is human trafficking. And so that's something to be aware of. Also, there's probably been a growing issue in the sex trafficking world of attacking our teens. And that's what gets to be really scary, is when you start to realize it's not just the grabbing of children, but it's the actual targeting and grooming of children.
That's something that I want to talk about, and obviously we're going to do that in a separate episode here, because that's something that to look out for, and actually how to talk to your family about that, and your children about that, and we will go over that in the next several things, and the next several topics or blocks that we discuss here. So Jess, going to you now. So human trafficking and sex trafficking, obviously, you're passionate about it. You reached out to David about it from seeing a post on LinkedIn, I'm assuming. So what has been your overall experience before you actually dove in and offered to volunteer your time with this? What was your knowledge about it, and what was the most shocking thing that you discovered when you first started getting involved?
Well, so looking back, and I think that's why it's important as we go on through this series to know what to look for. I have 3 daughters, a preteen and 2 teens. So looking back, I remember being a younger mom. I would see things that didn't quite add up, but I never thought in my mind that this would happen here, especially in the suburb that I lived. So now that's a really interesting thing that I've thought about when I began helping with redM, is like, oh my goodness, that massage place, it was a massage parlor. Those people did not want to be there. And also when my girls were younger, we were in the store one time, and then now I know to look for those signs from the men that were there, not buying things. They were following us down the aisles. And I've even had someone recently ask my girls, 2 of my daughters, how old they were and if they were twins. They had no shopping cart in the store. So I didn't know to put really a name on it until I started helping at redM. So one of the shocking things, though, to me would be that so many times we think, and I know a lot of times we share this, that it's in Taken, or it is something where someone takes you from the store. I'm not saying that's not a issue, but really the social media and what we call the Romeo. So someone who is sexually grooming anyone, but especially teens, and just looking at their vulnerability and weakness and making them think that they love them and want a relationship, and then they actually traffic them and they isolate them from their family. So that was pretty shocking to me, and knowing that it's our children, it's not a certain type. Whatever you think in your head, it's probably not that.
That's been actually one of the most, I guess, motivating things for me. First off, I'm not discrediting, the people that are actually in these unfortunate, scary, tragic circumstances. Yes. I mean, you can't say enough words to give the weight that it deserves. But the one thing that motivated me to get involved in redM as much as I can, and actually speak to this, is your experience right there. It's not the question of, oh, I just want to go out there and help. This is one of those things. It's like, I need to realize how to talk to my children about this, and how to my friends' children about this. So this isn't for me, the first step wasn't a call for action to go out and help others. It was more, I need to realize that this stuff happens in my home, in our homes. So that to me, that was important.
Well, and I think that we talk about this a lot, but the socializing of the subject, it's with your kids. That is really important. But it's also learning how to talk to each other about it. Yes. Because people who get close to it get very dramatic. You can get very big numbers, and there is a lot going on. But that's not as helpful. Causing fear actually works against what we want. Right. What we want is people to understand it and do something about it, and educate and actively talk about it, as opposed to create these very depressing moments at a dinner, where everyone doesn't know what to say. We're all awkward, but it's actually learning how to talk about, learning enough information to share and to bring it up and let it be a part of our society, to say it's not okay, because the traffickers like how terrifying it is. That works very much in their favor, because humans get so scared that they don't act.
Right. And
they only worry about my kids. I'm going to tell my kids, as opposed to I'm going to talk to you about it, or I'm going to bring it up. And I think learning to socialize what it really is and what is happening around us, as well as the only way it changes for us is the politicians hearing it.
Yeah.
And so there's a bit of, being vocal in the world.
But that's a great point. I mean, that's an excellent point. It's not one of those things where it's like, oh, this person's been, human trafficked for, 10 years. Now's the time to have the conversation. These conversations in reality probably could have happened. I'm not saying this is every circumstance, but maybe 10 years ago, where maybe that little girl had that knowledge, like, okay, well, this person online is being pretty inappropriate. They're love bombing me. They're sending me all this sweet things. So maybe the conversations, normalizing it, having it a more social conversation, can go back and kind of, maybe in the beginning when something grooming was beginning, you can change that, can stop that.
And it's the new stranger danger, right? It's learning. It's not just watch out for strangers who come up and offer you candy.
Right.
It's now, of course, you should watch out for that, but it's much more subtle, because it's happening all over. The people doing this are using human psychology. I mean, they're drawing people in. And it's almost how cults happen, and that you're drawing people into something that everyone who went into a cult, when you see them, when they come through and get clear of it, they never chose to be in a cult. Nobody chose that. They think they're choosing a good thing. I met a good person and they're doing these good things for me. Everything's good. Then it got a bit weird, but they've been really good so far, so I'm going to trust them. And that's how things go down, as human beings can fall prey and become victims. But it's a gentle kind of transition.
It's a gradual transition. That's right.
So it's understanding that how do I have more alarm bells where I previously would have had none?
So let's talk about call for action real quick. I'm a viewer. I'm looking at this for the first time. I feel like we have two call for actions right now. Number one, how can I learn more about the human trafficking, actually what's going on, what's happening, and how it's affecting? And the second thing is, how can I start learning how to have this be a more social conversation? So what's the first resource that people can go to learn about the subject of human trafficking?
I would say, because there are tons, you can search human trafficking and there's lots of stuff. And as it's an evolving subject, historically there are things that maybe aren't good or accurate to help you. So I think the safe thing is to go to polarisproject.org, and we'll put that up on the screen.
Polarisproject.org.
Yeah.
Okay.
They have really good content that's been worked on over time based on a lot of knowledge. But that's a good place to just learn some basic things. I think it's a safe place to go, because there are tons and tons of organizations producing sensationalized versions of this, but you really need some clear, what do I do? And they also give, some helpline numbers for what to call if you see something, also what to text if you get in trouble. And so those are things that your kids should have in their phone, so that they know that this is what to do. Should anything get odd or weird. So, and there's people working on different things in that space, but I do think that first learning is critical. It's not really going to movies.
Yeah.
That's you will go watch Taken. It's not very. It's accurate of an application of human trafficking, but it's really not things that cause fear in you, but things that empower you to do things and to equip yourself.
All right.
And I think something for me that helped, especially being new to that, is a lot of times, and you might feel this way yourself, and maybe someone listening is, I don't want to say anything wrong, or I don't know anything about this, and now I'm not going to talk to my kids because I don't know all the answers. And I would encourage you to say, you don't need to know all the answers. You need to just decide that you want to be aware of it, and then do a little bit of research, but open up that conversation and go into it knowing that you don't know all the answers, but lead with your heart. What is your purpose? I want to be aware of it, and then I want to keep my family safe, and then I want to share the message. So I think for me, that really helped me get out of my own way by not thinking I needed to know all the answers, because it is a difficult subject and you don't want to offend anybody or say the wrong thing. So that's what I would say about that.
And that's the thing with me. It's I'm very new to the subject. I'm very new learning about it. What y'all do and what people are out there doing. And you're right. To me, it's, look, I don't know the answers. I don't know how to talk about it. I don't even know the facts or what to look out for. But getting comfortable just talking. And the more you talk about it, the more comfortable you're going to be. Like, I'm a little bit nervous right now talking about it, but we're not going to be able to do this unless you start. Unless you start, exactly. So,
and Jess has said something before that I think is powerful, and that is it's around fear. What is that you said before? Let your fear, don't second guess your fear, or something like that you said.
Oh yeah, it's something I read. It was a book called The Gift of Fear. And it just really takes you through, listening to that, but also that you are empowered to do something about it. So it's there for a reason, but we need to make sure that we don't allow that to hinder us. So, it's okay to feel these things.
Yeah, you originally acted, which I thought was good when you tell that story of being in the store, but you let the manager know you did some things.
Yes.
Right.
Whereas normally we just think we're on our own here.
Yeah, and that's something I would share, that if you do ever feel uncomfortable, it's always better. And they encourage us to, the organizations, if you don't know and you think something's going on, call the hotline. Right. But for me in that situation, those men were going up to my children, and I just told the manager, we're not going out of the store alone for them to grab one of my children. Right. And that was a good example also to my girls. I have teens. If you've had teens, especially girls, they're like, Mom, oh my gosh. I said, no, we need to be safe. And that set the example that speak up. It's okay to do that. And now you'll be more comfortable and more speaking up, but also be more aware the next time. So I tell my kids, don't be scared, but be prepared.
Right.
And be aware and know the next steps to take.
So check out the website. Start talking about it to your circles, to your friends, to your family, to your spouse, and then don't let fear stop you.
That's
let
right.
fear drive you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that, and I look forward to our next block.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.